Welcome, executives. Look, we're not here today to just admire the problem. We are jumping straight into a highly focused briefing on navigating the current Middle East shipping crisis. It's a situation that's sending absolute shockwaves through the Indian shipping industry, and you know this. But this explainer is all about actionable intelligence. We are going to break down the exact, concrete strategies you need to actually lead your fleets through this turbulence. All right, let's dive right in.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we're mapping the crisis, then diving into 4 strategic pillars, navigating those rising costs, rolling out a 90-day action plan, and finally, looking ahead to Vision 2030. Okay, Section 1, Mapping the Shipping Crisis. Let's look at the storm's true impact. The sheer scale of exposure we're dealing with here is, honestly, staggering. Just look at this breakdown. We're talking about a massive 95% of our trade volume sitting directly exposed to these volatile routes. 95%. And that represents 68% of trade volume, which makes up a full 5% of the national GDP. For anyone sitting in the C-suite right now, this is your baseline reality. You literally cannot just wait this out. The exposure is almost total. And this number right here, this really shows you what's at stake. $130 billion. That is the current value of the sector hanging in the balance today. This isn't just some localized, minor operational hiccup. No, this is a systemic threat to a foundational economic pillar.
The core of this intense pressure originates at the critical route disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz. It's a massive bottleneck. When a choke point like this turns into a conflict zone, the ripple effects just instantly shred global schedules. It's exactly like a domino effect, hitting every single vessel that relies on that transit path.
So how does that bottleneck hit your balance sheet? Well, we are seeing cascading pain points aggressively squeezing margins. War risk insurance premiums are absolutely surging right now. And because ships are forced to avoid threat zones, you're dealing with severely extended voyage times, which, you guessed it, inevitably leads to massive fuel cost spikes. This is the storm. But as leaders, your job isn't just to weather it, it's to navigate it. That brings us to Section 2, 4 core strategic pillars to actually solve this. Let's break down the first pillar, dynamic route optimization. The industry has absolutely got to move past traditional static planning. This is all about deploying real-time AI and machine learning for optimal path selection. By feeding live updates on threat zones, safe corridors, and dynamic weather patterns into the system, your ops centers can actively, instantly steer ships away from danger and inefficiency. It's a real game changer. And the immediate return on investment here is huge. By running this algorithmic routing, the expected impact is a 15 to 20% reduction in fuel consumption. Think about that. In an environment with surging fuel prices, clawing back up to a fifth of that cost simply through smarter software, that is a massive operational win for sure. Which brings us to Pillar 2, multimodal transport. Look, relying solely on continuous sea routes is a vulnerability we just can't afford anymore. Transport has to be diversified, using flexible sea, rail, air combinations. This means developing strategic regional distribution centers to act as seamless transfer hubs, totally breaking the dependency on those vulnerable single, long-haul maritime routes.
And the ultimate takeaway here for your clients? Priority cargo fast-tracking. By killing those single-point failures and opening up diverse pathways, you guarantee that high-value priority cargo gets where it needs to go, completely bypassing any maritime blockades. It's all about keeping those service-level agreements intact, even when the oceans are entirely unpredictable.
Moving right along to Plan 3, strategic alliances. In a crisis, isolation is a massive weakness. This pillar is all about leveraging global shipping partnerships with major international carriers. By pooling resources and sharing vessel capacity, you are aggressively optimizing fleet utilization. You don't actually need to own every ship on the water to maintain your global footprint. You just need the right partners.
And the financial leverage you get from these alliances is profound, especially when it comes to insurance. Cost sharing distributes your operational expenses across partners, which directly allows you to negotiate essential bulk rate discounts on those surging war risk premiums. You go to the underwriters as a powerful coalition, not just an individual target. Which perfectly sets up our final pillar, Plan 4, insurance innovation. Because let's face it, traditional insurance models are just way too slow for a crisis like this. We need architectural innovation. I'm talking about parametric insurance, where payouts are automated based on predefined triggers instead of waiting around for lengthy damage assessments. We're talking captive insurance models for tighter internal cost control, and using blockchain for totally transparent instant claims processing. Now, these 4 pillars build your operational stability, but we still have to stop the immediate bleed. That takes us to Section 3, navigating rising costs, how we strategically respond.
If you're stuck in vulnerable, traditional fixed contracts right now, you are absorbing every ounce of that financial shock. It is time to shift to resilient hybrid pricing models. This lets you use flexible fuel surcharges that actually adjust dynamically with market rates. You get risk-adjusted pricing based on the actual route and dynamic cost pass-through, meaning real-time cost sharing with your clients. You're essentially turning a rigid liability into a shared, manageable variable.
Beyond just pricing, there are operational cost mitigation tactics you need to deploy immediately. Review your contractual flexibility, specifically invoking force majeure protections where it makes sense. Out on the water, you've got to implement slow steaming optimization to slash fuel burn and really tighten up just-in-time port operations to kill those idle waiting times. Finally, aggressively go after government maritime subsidies and sector-specific tax relief programs that are literally designed to support the industry through this exact kind of crisis. But hey, strategy is only as good as its execution, right?
So, Section 4, the 90-day action plan, moving from crisis to resilience. Here is exactly how this framework rolls out over the next critical quarter. Phase 1, days 1 to 30, is your immediate response: emergency route diversification, rapid stakeholder communication, and quick cost adjustments. Phase 2, days 31 to 60, is strategic adaptation, getting that AI route planning online, launching the hybrid pricing models, and cementing those strategic alliances. And Phase 3, days 61 to 90, locks in long-term resilience, finalizing the multimodal networks, deploying parametric insurance, and fully locking in that government support. It is a sprint to stability, but the goal isn't just to survive the current climate, it's to emerge dominant.
Section 5, Vision 2030 and beyond, building a truly resilient future.
The ultimate vision here is to transform this immediate threat into a lasting competitive advantage. By forcing the adoption of AI, multi-model networks, and strategic alliances right now, we're actually accelerating the infrastructure needed to position India as a top 10 global maritime nation. These strategic pivots are exactly the stepping stones required to propel the nation toward a massive $300 billion maritime sector goal by 2030, and it's all underpinned by unbreakable supply chain resilience.
Check out these targeted systemic outcomes we are driving toward with this entire framework. We're aiming for a 25% structural cost reduction across operations, 30% faster delivery times thanks to dynamic routing and multimodal hubs, all backed by 100% risk coverage.
The mindset you need to lead through this is perfectly captured right here. When the storm hit, we didn't just weather it, we learned to navigate smarter, partner stronger, and emerge more resilient. This is exactly the cultural shift every boardroom needs to adopt today.
We've laid out the blueprint for survival and future dominance. You've seen the data, the strategic pillars, and the 90-day action plan. So the question I leave you with is this: how will you lead your fleet through the storm to Vision 2030? The time for decisive action is right now. Thanks for joining this briefing.